G'day and welcome to the second video on the project bike, and this video is sort of not the sort of thing I wanted to bring out now because I've got other things to do, but it tied me over while I'm waiting on parts. It's the usual story, still waiting on a load of parts. So anyway, I managed to clean him up. It's behind me, and some things are knackered in it and some things are really good, but at the end of the day we're going to get a really sound little engine. This bike's not going to be a restoration. It's going to be something I'm going to make up as I go along. I've got some ideas in my head, but there's a load of aftermarket you can get. That's a CB350/200 taillight. I bought this for the original 350 here because it's smaller and a bit lower profile. The original ones are sort of huge and they're right up high, and I think it spoils the line of the bike. So, but there's loads of people making a kit like this as well. So there's all sorts of avenues we can take in terms of the design of it, and I've got some ideas and I think it's going to be absolutely great. The other thing is though, before I do it, I've got to finish the 750 and these two here. The Suzuki's as good as finished, and the CB350 Resto isn't far off either. So then we're getting into the Falcon. We've got to do some bodywork on the front guards, fit all the door seals, the right hand door trim. I've got to get the seatbelts rewebbed. I keep forgetting about that. I've been doing these projects for years, but we're almost done. So I've got an idea where I want to go after it. I want to try some of that engineering stuff that Milliard does, and I've got some ideas for that too. But yeah, it's becoming a space issue now, and I don't really want to sell any of the cars because the moment you do, you regret it. You know, a lot of people will say whatever you do, don't sell because you always regret it, and they're right. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you enjoy. This is a shocker. I've just managed to free the barrels up. They're rusty on the studs. The worst part's at the front. I'll just turn it around. So what I've needed to do, I'm just going to move this light so you can see. This thing is just shocking because there's that much crud. Hang on, I'm just trying to move the camera around. Like this sort of stuff. It's just absolutely covered. This is why I wanted to get it blasted. It's just revolting. Now down in here you can see I've actually bent that bit and that bit. They're the only two bosses you can knock it off. Really bad to get into. You can see the rust on the studs. You've got aluminium and hardened steel, two different metals, and this thing's just been covered in water and mud and debris, and so it's effectively stuck all those bits in. So I've been using dentist tools to dig out as much of that corrosion as I can, while I've drilled holes, 6 holes, 1, 2, there's 1 under there, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6, and been injecting, you know, penetrating oil into each of these holes. That actually fits into those holes quite snugly. And working it up and down, and it's almost ready to relent now. I had to take the crank out and disconnect it from the rods because the pistons are still there. You can't pull the pistons out of this thing from underneath because the bosses for the, look at this, the bosses for the main bearings are in the way. Look at this. A real mess. So this will come up looking like brand new when I'm finished. And it won't. The funny part about this is it's so bad on the outside and yet so lovely on the inside. So I'll get a stand and we'll take this set of barrels off. Oh, the other thing I did was used a piece of wire on a drill bit, on a drill, and ran it down in there to sort of act as a drill to loosen some of the stuff, which was only moderately successful. But we've got oil galleries feeding the overhead gear on the outside, and we've got drains going back to the crankcase here. This is just a stud that holds the head, and the same with the one at the back. I think it was this one, or that one, I can't remember now. But it's nearly ready to release. Oh, it's this one here. It's still hanging on a bit. But, oh gosh. It's just a really slow process. I started doing it last night, and I've just been sort of messing around with that, trying to free it up. I'm out of CS, I'm out of penetrating almost. Just hoping I can get the bloody thing off. Don't do this at home. Otherwise you think I'll never run again. Bloody hell. Get off there. I've still got corrosion on the top of the threads. That is so freaking ugly. What's it hitting on? Damn. I don't want to damage the pistons either. Okay, let's just have a break for a second. And see if we can work this out a bit better, because I'm not winning, put it that way. We're not winning at all. Time for new gloves. But, you know, as I said before, I'm astounded by the interior condition of the engine. It doesn't need anything. Even the seals feel good. Like, it needs nothing. The only thing I might do is change the primary chain for the second-hand one I had, because it was a bit less slack. But even in saying that, you know, the what do you call it? The guides for the primary chain are still in marvellous condition. There's nothing wrong with them. So, you know, as far as picking up an engine for $200, it's definitely been great. And what blows me away is that this thing would have been absolutely given a hiding. It's not been maintained. We've had unfiltered oil. We've had all sorts of things. The big end bearings I'll show you in a moment are like brand new. Well, I finally won the battle with this. Look at this corrosion. It is nuts. That'll be the aluminium, not the steel. The steel's in good condition under there. Oh gosh, what am I doing? I'm not even pointing the camera in the right spot. Had to use a 5/16 bolt. I used an 8mm on the other side, and that sort of fitted quite well. Let's grab a tripod. Hang on a sec. So I ran out of room. These are chain adjusting bolts from my 350. They were sort of mushroomed at the end. I had to sort of clean them up with the tap. And a die for the nut. No, a tap for the nut, and a die for the bolt. So that's all good. This one's a 5/16 course. Actually, that should just come off now, should it? Yeah, I think that's going to come off. I can take this out. And I want to have a look. I just want to make sure I haven't damaged too much of the surfaces. I just spoke to the hydroblaster, and he's still working. He works from his home, and he is going to do all of this for me. And I'm going to take all of it in. Pardon me. There's the environmental aspect. I don't like sort of oil and stuff on the garden. I mean, I've got a bit of it there in the past, and I have never liked that sort of thing. But also, he can do it in a third of the time and do it 20 times better. This should relent. Oh, thank bloody God. So yeah, he will clean all of this up, and it'll come back looking like brand new. The thing I'm dubious about, there's a couple of things. This is grotty as hell around here, but it doesn't matter too much. I'm just keen to see where all this corrosion's, what it's amounted to, and it actually is just superficial. It's nothing. It will be probably quite significant inside there though, but that'll all come off. And wherever I've sort of tried to wedge it with a screwdriver, like there, that's rough, I'll file that off before I give it to him. There was a bit there too which is mushroomed over, but I had no other way of getting it off, you know. I mean, should probably have heated it, but the torch, my brother's got a small torch, I've got one too, but the line on it is, mine's actually quite interesting. It runs on, you know, the normal barbecue gas, but the problem with it is the line's all perished, and it's just too dangerous, so I'm not arcing that up. But that's good. I'll just, before I send this off to the hydro guy, I'm just going to file that flat. All your returns, you never ever knock around your oil feed or return. There's two. There's one there, one there. These are your feeds, and they're your returns. And so you can pretty much just wedge in, which is not great, let's just say that. You can wedge them, but never in those areas there. I'm just going to try and get that dowel out, because I've got the other one out. And you'll find also that the ones in the crankcase, like that one and in the lower case are pretty much jammed in, but that case is completely empty now, so that can go and get cleaned up. Thankfully, this is a great case. It's still got all its tensioner. And when I pulled the tensioner out, it's in really good nick. It still swivels, it hasn't been chewed away much. So I'm really, really pleased with that. I'm just sort of digging around. There's just dirt from its go-kart days, just clagging everything up. This thing must have been running red hot because it's all blocked with mud. All down these sort of transfer airways and all up in there. I've been poking it out. But also the fins are all covered with goo. And if they were a bit softer, I could probably dig into there and get those O-rings out. And I might have to try and break it with a screwdriver first. Oh, yeah, you can see they're just brittle. And then we can just lift the rest of it out with our little dentistry tool. But it's important we put new ones in. Look at that. More like Bakelite. Anyway, I'm going to go in and clean this up, or at least take those out. I don't care about remnants like that, but I want to have it so it's in some sort of healthy state for the hydro guy to get. I'm leaving those in because they're too difficult to get out, and it doesn't matter if they do stay in there. But the bores are good. They're reusable. No worries there. Right. So we've got a few things to take. Cylinder barrels, lower and upper case there. A cylinder head, cam box, and a couple of sprocket covers and sumps and oil filters in there too. So what we've got with this one, I thought I could just slap it together, but it's missing. I thought it was missing a sprag clutch. The sprag clutch is this guy here. It's a one-way clutch the starter motor runs on, so it won't come back that way, and only goes one way. Well, it's not missing the sprag. Well, this is one that actually I got from a bloke in Perth, but I didn't need it. The bike actually had one in there. The engine had one in there, but it's missing the idler, which is what runs on that to the starter pinion, and that's what I couldn't see. I forgot they had an idler. I thought the starter just ran off the sprag. So I need to get that, and the problem with that is the postage is $4 million from US for something that's this friggin' big. What I originally thought, I didn't know about this boring guy. Not that he's boring, but he does boring work. I didn't know about him. And he does fin repairs to heads, so guess who's getting this one? And I'm actually quite happy about that. So I thought I would slap that Dunga motor together, which is actually better than this was when we got this, but it's going to work out better if we build this one, put it back together, stick it in the bike and get it running, and then by then I should have I'm forgetting, I'm useless. We should have the idler for the sprag, for the starter. I've got another starter motor for it, and we'll have both of them going. Does that make any sense? So in the meantime, I'm going to clean this up, put that stuff away, and package that, and go to the post office. Right, well this still has to go to the blaster. That's not the dirtiest bit of kit I had, but this is why we hydroblast. It's just the best method for cleaning aluminium parts. They're the barrels off the engine we took, which are in such a bad state. Oil filter housings, that's the one we took. You can see there's pitting. I don't know if you can see that pitting there. That was severely corroded and it was black, sort of elsewhere. The important bits are very, very smooth. The better of the two, which is this one, will go on the restoration engine. Both sumpans came out well. That would be the one off this, I think. That's the rougher of the two, if you can see there. This is the restoration one, which has still got an ear broke off on it. It's got two ears broken off. So is that oddly enough? But it is in slightly nicer shape. Oil pickups are another thing, and they're very, very difficult to clean with bits of clutch debris and that sort of thing. And you can see both of them are equally lovely. And of course we've got these two side cover or sprocket covers. That's the one off this engine here. It's got the dent in it. That's the better of the two. And so will polish those as well. I'll show you what's going on with this. So the valve cover, rock cover, cam box, whatever you want to call it, is off the restoration bike. So that can be put back together, put the rocker arms back in and that sort of thing. And the cylinder head was as well. Square. That's off the restoration bike as well. Looks like new old stock. Feels like a MacBook. You know, the MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air, that finish they've got, that's exactly what it feels like. Probably even a bit smoother. But the guides all checked out alright in this. Ports are all clean. Like it's mad. It's beautiful. So that can go back together, that head. I just need to ascertain that that valve's alright. There was one I thought maybe a bit bent. They're the barrels off this bike, and you can see it's got a lovely bore. The bores are lovely on this thing. So that can just be honed and put back in. We do have to take the O-rings out of there. I only took one out, so there's a couple more to come out. And of course, the cases. And oh, come on. The cases aren't as new. So you can see just how wonderful it is. And you will never ever, I mean, for all of it was $180. And you just can't clean it for that. And you would never ever sandblast or media blast, sorry. You wouldn't use anything but hydroblasting for this sort of stuff. So there's a bit of corrosion on the top housing. I'm two minds whether to paint this. I like leaving these raw. There's a danger with leaving them raw though, because they can get that salt and pepper look about them. Look at this head. It looks pretty munted, doesn't it? But it isn't. It's all good. And I'll get the blaster John to clean these as well. I normally polish those. They can be, it's just fiddly inside of them, and sometimes you just can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? It's like, really, do I have to do that? So I'm just going to pull that apart, and we'll have a look at it. It's got a couple of breaks in it, like in the fins. Fucking radio. So have a look at that. That looks absolutely knackered, but it'll come back looking brand new. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm just going to try and get those off. I couldn't get the other ones out of the other head. There's large rubber O-rings. Oh, look at that, it came out. And they go in a bag. Yeah, that one won't come out, but it doesn't matter. I'll just pop them in a bag so I know where they're at. And these studs can also get stuck in. I don't care about any of that. I want all the paint off, all the muck off. And it's probably like $30 to do that. So you wouldn't even try to clean it. But what I will do is I'll take the valve stem seals off. When you do this, you just got to be ultra careful. I'm just trying to get behind the spring-loaded part, because the last thing I want to do is break the guide. And there we go. You can actually save them, but they do come in the gasket kit, or at least I've had a couple of gasket kits that have come in. Traditionally they do, but they're actually no, that's not serviceable anymore. They're too hard. So I'm going to go around doing this, and then this guy here can go in the tub for the next lot of hydroblasting. Here's the other head that I got from this guy, and I was a bit disappointed because he's got other ones that are good, and he sent this, and it's the guides. There were no valves. I wanted valves, and it's busted up all in here. That being said, it's better on one side than the other one. This one here is probably an easier repair. Oh, hang on, let me just move that. One, because the guides aren't out of it, but it's bent down there, but that part's still around. And they can just be ground. Although someone's cut it. Someone's cut it, look. I didn't even notice that. It's got hacksaw blades marks in it. So, and it's busted off on that side. So I don't really know which one to send out. So obviously this one's better on that side, and in some ways this one is too. It just needs those two bits putting in, but I'm a bit gun shy about this guide. Got this guide out. Actually feels pretty good. The issue I've got is, that guide's actually really good, is the guide would have to be pressed in. That's not a big deal at all. The camshaft for that, this one looks like it's a bit scratchy and a bit horrible. I think that would be dearer to fix, but I might still go with that one. And the rain set in, so I can't do the lawn. Bummer. We used to have beautiful flowers along here, and the dogs just peed on it and killed them all, and it's just weeds. And look what that puppy's done. It's awful. The backyard's a disgrace. Oh boy. What's not a disgrace is what we're doing in here. So, this is what we're up to. Barrels off the grotty motor. There's a bit of surface there, but it doesn't matter. Are absolutely gorgeous. Look down there. The hydroblasting actually peens the metal, so that'll hone out absolutely beautifully. It's in such good shape, and it's amazing it was in such bad shape on the outside. Had to take those O-rings out of here. I took one out, then I forgot about the others. And I've also run that drill bit through there. That's where the corrosion was. Now, the 6 holes I need to block them up. We've got, hang on, I'm not doing this very well, am I? If you look down there, you can see where I was shooting the penetrating oil. It's just gone out of focus. There it is there. And it helped. So now we can block those up. As we said before, this isn't a critical stud. It just holds the head down. There's no oil passages or anything underneath there. So theoretically speaking, they can actually stay. But being the sort of pain in the neck I am, I'm going to block them up. And I did 6. So there's one there, and there's one on the other side down here, and then there's one there, and of course the 3 on the top. So that's cool. I do have to file. You can see where I've driven a wedge in there. Whoopsie. But it's all good. So I might just draw file a bit on there. So I'm going to mix up some of that metal stuff I used on the Suzuki. What's it called? Like this stuff. What's it called again? Steel weld. It's just going to act as a plug, and if it does ooze into the middle, it doesn't matter because I can drill it out again. Then we'll hone that. I'll hone it later. I can't be bothered at the moment. And then that's ready to go on. Rightio. The barrels, I've just put a bit of, where's my other glasses? Hang on. Put a bit of the epoxy in the holes that I made. We can sand it back, but I don't even think there's any point. It's barely visible. Can you see that? In there? If we do sand it back, where's a bit of sandpaper? It might be a bit too rough. I had some smoother stuff. What the heck is that? As soon as I turn the camera off, it'll be 4 sheets looking at me. Oh, there's some. If we do sand it back, it'll go the colour of the aluminium anyway. So yeah, I might do a little bit. That's dirty, that bit, but anyway. It'll be disguised perfectly, and you'll never ever see it. So that's cool. Inventory, we've got 3 rolls of Bunnings copper wire. It's non-insulated copper wire, so we can string up our bolts for plating with that. Don't know how I'm going to get them to the plater in this lockdown. I might actually call a cab or Uber or something and get them to lay them in the boot and take them down there. And a seal kit, which is the same as the one we used for the restored engine, for this one here. So it'll look new. It'll look really, really good when it's done. But anyway, that's good to have. They rolled up into post quite quickly, which is uncommon in these times. Right, so I'm not sure if Warner's is still open. I had a look on the internet. It doesn't say they're closed, but they're upgrading and all that sort of stuff at their place. I'm not sure if they're actually still doing plating. I'm certainly hoping they are. The good thing about it is I've always been able to get there before work. So if I've got a meeting at 8:30 at work, you know, Warner's open at 7, so it gives me plenty of time to sort of do what I need to do. So I'm just going to throw that stuff in there, and I'll give them a call on Monday morning and just see if they're there. But I'm not going to bother chaining everything up or wiring everything up and then finding out they're not around. Just revisiting this crankshaft. I've got some bits I'm hoping I can use with it off the old motor, the chain and that sort of thing. Right, let's have a look at this. It was pretty much as I thought. The timing chain that came out of the old engine was considerably longer than the one that came out of this. That would have been replaced, I would think, but I have changed over the primary chain. That was the shorter one, that was in the old engine. we're just digging around second-hand parts, so it's pretty dodgy what we're doing. But what's a centre stand thing? I had it all powder coated, bought a spring, and then found out that the bike I'm restoring doesn't even have a centre stand bracket on it. They pulled it out. So this is just old 350 stuff. So that, oh hang on, I've got another, that's a filter bolt. So that can all go back in the shed, I don't need that. There are bearing shells, chains. Yeah, that was going to use old stuff, I suppose. The other thing is the tensioner that came out of this one is free. There's a bit of roughness in it, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And you can see where the chain's actually sawn into it on the edge there. And a tiny bit there. If you compare that to this one, this came out of the engine, the better engine if you want to call it that. And it's, I freed this up. This was C solid, but it's really sawn in there. Look at the difference there. And of course there, where the chain's just sort of gone right into it. Where the one out of our junker engine is head and shoulders better. It's only just touched it, it hasn't even dug in there really. But yeah, huge difference. I ended up, this was really stuck, and I ended up getting a billet one for that engine, so, you know. I kept it. It's good to have it, because I've just used it as a cross-reference type thing. I haven't even cleaned this stuff because I don't reckon it's worth it. It's like so clean anyway. That goes down here, doesn't it? Was there anything around there? There wasn't, was there? I don't believe there was. You know, I can't finish it because I can't get too carried away because I need that idler or that reduction gear for the starter, and that goes in there. There's a shaft that goes through, and then into there, and there's a little bracket thing which goes there. Don't know why I put the bloody crank in, because I've got to put that tensioner in. That was dumb. That was really dumb. So the bolts for this guide, I've washed out in thinner and put Loctite on them. Can't forget these guys. Oh. These are little locating dowels, which I'm already in the wrong spot. Goes there. And this one goes here. Those two holes there are for the apple shaft seal, and the little bung that goes in there sort of sits like that, but I haven't cleaned it up yet, so that's not all that important. We put it in just now. It's just a matter of, I like doing this sort of stuff because it gets bags emptied. Like this one, it's empty, and I can reuse it. It's cool. It's all good. Alright, so no, we're good, we're good. So that is going to go that way. That one's like that. That one's like that. Then that's going to mesh with him. That's going to mesh with that one, and that's, oh, that's easy. That's cool. Excellent. And then we'll just go into the case so that we can just flip him around and start putting those things back on. And we're good, because these will work. We'll know as soon as we turn it around. Oh, this thing, that's for the Suzuki. Now, I was warned about those, you're never going to find them. And I thought, yeah, I've got one, but then I didn't realise it was broken. And I found a site in Adelaide, in South Australia, that had boxes of 10. I thought, yeah, sure, I'll go and get a box of 10, and then I'll send some off to Andy as spares. And then they called up and said, no, there's none around, we can't get them. Damn, so he was right, and I was wrong. The crankshaft actually weighs quite a lot. You can see it standing up the engine just the way it is. How the hell does this stuff go? Alright, better figure that out. So we've got Detents, and we've got the, where did it go? It's on the other side, that's easy. Lowercase, yeah. Chain tensioner, yeah. Neutral start switch, or neutral switch, yep, we know what that is, we know what that is, we know what that is. There's that, and there's another one that looks similar to it. Another detent wheel thing. I can't remember what I did with it. Where did I put it? I can't do the, I can't connect all the gear shift stuff up at the moment because I just can't. No, because I'm just waiting on that gear that I was talking about before, which is that is the clutch. This one goes like that. Right, so that should mesh with that guy, and this little thing here is going to go down the bottom, and it should fall into place. Kind of like that. There we go. Ooh wee! Is that nice? And the main shaft is next, and that's got a seal on it which I'll replace on the end of it. I'm just going to take that off. Actually, it might be easier just to clean that up a bit before. Yeah, I think I will. Just a minute. So I've cleaned that up. I've got a brand new seal here, and the old one's over there. So I'm just going to oil this up. Normally I would grease it. This glove's filthy, but it's cleanish on the inside. I might use assembly leave on the inside of this actually. It's gluggier and it'll stick better. Normally I use grease. I just sort of rotate it on. Oh, I don't want to damage it. I think we're good. Oh crap, that's falling off. We don't want that falling off. And then put him home. This is not going to be fun. I'm going to have to try and... Where's my bone? I don't know where my bone is. Here's my bone. So I can just get underneath the forks. This one here is wrong. It's in the wrong place. Hold on a minute. Let me get that back a bit. Like that. I think that's right. I hope it's right. And this one? Because it's difficult to see. And I think I'm completely out with the... There it is. Hang on a minute. Yeah, that dropped in. But this hasn't. There it is. So I think that's fifth. Hang on a minute. Fourth. Third. Second. First. And that shouldn't go back any further. Nope. If I just go a little bit. Neutral! Okay, so we've got 5 gears. It's a 5-speed box. That's spun around again, which isn't much good. It has to sit down further. This engine's a bit of a paradox. It's really quite weird how it's worn. Normally everything would sort of wear together, and you know, the whole thing would either be knackered or in pretty good shape. This is, you know, either great or, you know, not very good. The example of that was the primary chain wasn't great, but the guides were really good. Go figure. The timing chain was good, but one of the guides in that was stuffed. You know, the crankshaft's great, the top end, the camshafts, the head, everything's really, really good. The bores were particularly good, but the thing that's got me, or thrown me, is the pistons are stuffed. We've got one with, I don't know if you can see, a crack radiating out from the bottom of the skirt and stopping. That's only going to come to grief. And I've got another set of pistons out of the other engine, which those pistons were great, but the bores were worn. But as I look further into this, the land clearance is useless on it. It's about, between the ring here and the land, it's about 12,000 clearance. Some of them are a lot worse than others. This one here, I'm hoping you can see, it's got a huge gap, and that's just going to chatter up and down and just wear out. So they're no good. And this one's, that's knackered, that one. That's really moving around. So they're pretty well gone. The old pistons I had off the other engine, this one that I've restored, are brilliant. The what do you call it? The end gap's fine. The landed piston clearance is about 1,000. They're in really good shape, so I'm just going to use those. Now, if it was a two-stroke, you probably couldn't do it because the two-strokes, given that they have transfer ports, also have a little peg inside the groove, or the land, which stops the rings rotating, obviously, because I don't want to catch on those transfer ports. The four-strokes, and these are nice and free, they do rotate. So I'm not worried about the bores that these came out of because they'll still be round. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to pop those in. I might as well. I don't see anything wrong with doing that. They're serviceable, there's nothing wrong with them, so I might as well use them. Rightio, so what we've got going on now is, got the pistons in, I've got toilet rolls around them. I always just get 2 toilet rolls, cut them down the centre, wrap around the piston, just tape them, and it just protects it from any sort of damage because they've got the rings and everything on them. Yeah, so I mean, I just went through the rubbish and pulled out 8 rolls and 2 rolls per piston, and it protects them quite well. If you're like me and you're a guy, you probably won't use much in the way of toilet paper, but if you've got girls in the house, you'll be using stacks of it. So I've got to work this out. Here's the tensioner. It's got an in and out of spring, and it sits in the block with a little rebate that a lock screw goes against. This had a 6mm Allen head type thing with a Toyota looking thing, lock washer that sort of mounted like that, and it was hanging right out. It was quite vulnerable. I found this, and I'm wondering if that's a proper one. That looks like one of the proper ones, doesn't it? So, in other words, what this will do, in order to ascertain it, I just need to find an 8mm nut, which I can see some here. Oops, and I can kick the tripod around. I don't know, off the top of my head, if that is 8mm there, which it is. That must be the right bolt, but it must have been in a box or something that I had hydroblasted. I'm going to use a flat type nut. That I had, plated, but it wasn't on the bike. The other 350 engine was all sort of busted up and knackered. So if I put that in, my hands are filthy. I should be using new gloves, but I'm not because these ones last forever. And maybe a washer against them might be a better idea. There we go, that's the planet, and then you would load it up and lock the nut down. That's the one. Cool. I think the only thing I'll do, I might just put a washer on there. Maybe a copper washer or something might work. I can't find a fibre washer, or aluminium one for that matter. This is going to be fine, I think. And it's got to be the right one. So an 8mm nut fits up there. I'm just going to have to use the zinc washer. Alright, so that'll just sit in there. I've got these two, and these have got quite a bit of pressure on them. So if you let go of it, it's got a bird. So you can just nip it up like that, and it holds that under pressure. And no, we'll just put that up against the block. Oh, what happened there? Okay. Is that thread, is that 6mm thread damaged, is it? Oh, hang on a minute, we might have to put another insert in. Is that stripped? Oh yes it is. That's got a knackered thread, so I've got to put an insert in here. Oh well, we can do that. I thought it felt a bit floppy, like a bit of sideways movement, like that. I didn't like that, but doesn't matter. I'll just drill the bugger out and put an insert in, because we're used to doing that now. And oh gosh, yeah, I can see it. Yeah, that looks minted. Goes against me a bit doing it with all this fresh stuff, but it's in its own channel, you see, and it'll just fall out. So that is quite okay. I'm doing this dry. I'm not using lubricant. One, because it's aluminium and therefore very soft, and two, by doing it dry, it's dropping out here at the bottom, whereas the lubricant would hold it in there. Let me have a look. One thing I've noticed with these, when you use them, if that hole has any swarf in it, your seat will bind up as it's going in. Whoops. And therefore you won't get the thread, it won't be right, you won't get the 6mm part in. So it doesn't hurt just to run in again and just make sure that thread's absolutely clear. I've got the pintle in, or the little tensioner thing. It's got a flat spot. I'm going past that so we're up against the round part, just to stop me going too far with this guy. Our little insert bit. So where's my little Loctite? There it is. So we're going to go for broke, and hopefully we won't break it. There we go. Good. Close my fingers. It's a cheap kit. I've got to break the bottom out. There you go, and that's just dropped out. That's the little thing you grab onto it with, and that should be done. And the most important part is we've got, that's free to slide, because we used our brain, which is unusual for me because normally I don't. And where's the friggin' bolt? Hang on a minute, what have we done with it? What did I do with it? Did you guys see it? Where is it? Oh, there it is there. So, where's the flat? The flat, yeah, I can see it. That's cool. So we'll just put that in. And this should work. That feels wonderful. Excellent. We'll just go down. Push it all the way in. Nice and positive. Perfect. All good. And so now what we can do is we can pop the tensioner thing in. This is amazing. It's just scratched there. The other one's dug right in. But that will sit in there. I thought I was going to have to take that out again. And then of course once we get the head on everything, we undo that, and the spring pressure pushes that down and tensions it all up. But what I've done in the meantime is I've just got the bolts and ran them in thinners to clean all the oil and everything off, and I'll run a bit of Loctite on those. If I can find, here it is, ratchet. And we're good. And that's just another thing that's done. And I'm very happy with how this is going so far. So I guess from here we're finished with the bottom end. We can't do much else with the bottom end. We've got a new seal here, we've got a new seal there. We've changed the pistons, we've cleaned it all up, it's all nice. We should be talking this, but we're not. we can check it out. It's between 6 and 8 pounds, which is what that is, what I'm doing now. I find sometimes with these sorts of things, you've got more feel if you do it by hand. Some of these old threads and aluminium cases, they just don't feel good when you're tightening them up with a torque wrench. Just going around checking these. I've torqued them up, I'm just sort of double checking them. 14.5 to 15.2 foot-pounds. There's a lot of conjecture with these rod bolts that you can't reuse them. It came up a lot on the 750 forums. On the proviso that they're stretched to yield, and they're not on the single overhead cam. They are on the twin cam motor, but not the single. Assembly lube. It's great stuff, isn't it? So you're safe to reuse them. I mean, if you're going to use them 30 times, you probably wouldn't. But I'm just going around making sure that this is all, whoops, hunky-dory. And I can only get a 1/4 inch socket in there. So I'm happy that that's all good. Oops. And so we can pretty much shelf it until we get some of the other bits back. Well, here she is for now. It's looking really fine. I'm happy with it. So far we've spent $44 on a new seal kit. Plus a gasket kit was $100, so it's $144. The primary chain, as we said before, is second hand. It's out of the other bike, other engine. Timing chain's the same one that came with the pistons, that's right, that's out of the other engine too. We've got to do a bit of recoiling here for the tension of it, that's all looking good. Got the jack shaft bearing in, you know, the chain guides, the gear shift peg, the spring peg thing that it runs on, and new O-rings in the gallery plugs, and I've popped those in, cleaned them off, and I've also taped off the oil filter. So I'll invert that and stick it back on top of there, and then after that all we can really do is wait to get this stuff back. So basically what will happen is this won't take long to hydroblast. It's very, very quick. He does it overnight. He had a backlog he took 2 nights before, which is still no big deal. I'm not going with the other head, the cleaner looking one, because one of the guides was out and I knocked it in and it was far too easy to knock in. There go the dogs. So I'm going to stay with this one. So what this means is once this comes back from the blaster and I get the cylinders and the pistons back from the engineer, or the engineering place is the one that's boring it, then I'll send this head off and get the fins fixed. So that won't take long, I don't think, or at least I hope it doesn't. That's about it for today. I just have to say thanks very much for putting up with my constant changes of direction. It gives me a change, lets me do different things, and of course provides that time for those parts to arrive. So on that note, I'll say thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.